Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Hello, audience, and welcome to my first Cosmere video in a minute. It's been a second since we've talked about the Cosmere, and I'm happy to jump right back in. And this is going to be a predictions video for the last book in the Stormlight Archive in this leg of the two-leg journey we're going on. For those of you who are unaware, the Stormlight Archive is planned to be 10 books, but there's going to be a time jump between 5. We're about to complete this one. So this video is going to focus on the predictions of this little last boy right here, this final book in that first leg. See what I'm saying? I waited a good long time to go ahead and put out this book because unlike a lot of us super fanatical fans, it takes some people a long time to get through a Stormlight Archive book. I've given you that long time, and now, spoiler warning for the Stormlight Archive up through Rhythm of War, as I am going to talk about my predictions for the series right now. So if you haven't completed Rhythm of War, get the F out! Get out! So full spoilers, let's go. All right, I'm gonna start general and get more specific as we continue through, but my overall approach and thought is that Sanderson's going to get dark. I think this is going to have a rather dark conclusion to the first half, and we'll see our heroes kinda win, be able to stave off a totally cataclysmic conclusion, but the world will be left in much worse shape than we saw it at the start of the Stormlight Archive, which already wasn't that great a shape. This will largely allow us to pick up with a mostly new cast of characters, and as Sanderson has recently said in a live signing, this second half of Stormlight will be even more so disconnected from the first half than Mistborn Era 2 is from Mistborn Era 1. It is important to note, after doing a bit more research, the time jump has been specified to be around 15 years, and also this first leg is focusing on the Radiants, and the second leg will focus more on the Heralds. So take all that as you will. That's why I mean the new cast is probably going to focus on the characters that will be, Heralds. That means mostly new characters to me. You can't just continue on a story with almost entirely the same cast because you'd be missing out on, the backstory of how they got where they are, and that's kind of important. Now, I do think we will see some characters still carry over, but this means a lot of darkness and death. Just narratively, it makes the most sense for me. Have reasonable conclusions for the characters we care about oh so much, kill off a lot of them, and reach mostly cathartic conclusions, but leave that doorway open for a much worse time to come, and that's where the second half picks up. I believe civilization as a whole will be spending a lot of time getting ready for whatever is to come in the second half, because there's no way this cast of characters we're seeing take charge and form this massive alliance in the first half so far would allow the world to just rest back on its laurels and not be prepared from whatever is still to come. Something deep in me also tells me with Taravangian's reveal at the end of Rhythm of War, this is going to be set up to a way where we are dealing with someone who is crazy genius intelligent, and I don't think everyone will be able to squash all the things he's going to put into play. That is one of the benefits of having an antagonist who's set up to be massively intelligent, super intelligent, is you can confront them and stop them in some ways, but then when you turn around and you go, oh, but you were doing this entire other leg of the plan, we didn't know that. And that's what actually could lead into this second half. Okay, but that's the broad picture. That's the very general overview where I think Brandon Sanderson is going to shoot to do here. He's going to have something that's going to be cathartic enough for the cast we have while killing off a lot of them dealing it. And then we're going to move into a second leg of the journey where those who survived are essentially preparing for what they know is still to come, because our protagonists are capable enough to figure out, oh, we didn't actually solve the entire problem. I don't know what the entire problem's going to be, obviously, but that's what my is telling me. But let's get into the more specifics in a segment I'm gonna call Who Lives and Who Dies? This is gonna get sad. I'm gonna try and be a little super specific, or I know I'm gonna be wrong, but it's just like what my brain tells me is gonna happen, and some of the things I'm gonna put forth might make you sad in your face, and I'm sorry if they do. First and foremost, Caledon's gonna die. Calling it here might be wrong, not sure, but I have a feeling Caledon's going to die, and it's going to be absolutely heart heart-wrenching. I think book 5 is going to largely focus on Caledon recovering from a lot of the mental hurdles he's still dealing with, things that I, in my own personal life, have struggled with, like depression and anxiety. But at the end of the day, I think Sanderson's going to use all this investment as us, the readers, loving this character to have an emotional moment where he dies that's going to sting so much. But I guess it finally begs the question, if I have to be specific, what kills Caledon? I think he is set up to do the ultimate sacrifice to save others. I don't know who exactly he will be saving. Maybe Dalinar needs protecting at some point, or Shalon, Navani, I'm not sure. But I see him being in a protecting role, making up for the failure he feels he had in not saving his brother, even though it's not his fault, by protecting someone else. Caledon Stormbless released one final shiver, a breath releasing between his lips, and he was gone. Syl desperately began pulling at his collar, refusing to acknowledge her friend could be lost. She felt her mind beginning to slip. The connection that she loved, the connection she depended on, dissipating. No, not Caledon. The warrior was done. I know that's horrifically dark. I don't want it, but it'll make a damn good story, and it kind of fits. I don't want Syl to be gone forever from this, but I think the emotional moment of her losing Caledon could be one of the most heart-wrenching we've ever seen in the Cosmere, and with Sanderson's improvement as a writer as he continues to just hone and master his craft, I think he could deliver such a scene masterfully. But what exactly will take Caledon out? Epic last stand. I know he's kind of been an anti-typical warrior protagonist in a lot of ways, having a much more realistic approach to the ramifications of living the kind of life Caledon has, and I love that about him. But he's also earned, in my opinion, a glorious death. And with his kind of set up but then not realized romance with Shalon, and then a couple other things, there's not a lot connecting him in through lines, needing him to move on, at least from my perspective in the moment right now, to then pick up and go forth in the second leg. He is a character that I adore, one of my favorites the entire Cosmere, but I hope personally to see him wrapped up in this first arc. I'm sorry if I just hurt you with that visual of Syl over him. It hurts me too. But Yasuna's absolutely going to live. I would put money down on that. She will be one of the continuers on for the second leg of the journey. I think Yasuna and Adolin are guaranteed survivors. And I am saying that because I still maintain Adolin hasn't reached his full potential for me. And I think there's a lot left to do with a very well set up character to have him then be someone to usher in the new cast we are going to be getting in these second 5 books. And that's something he's really well set up to do. I think Adolin is a wonderful character to do that, especially if in book 5 we focus a lot more on getting him more to the forefront of having action and agency and where the narrative is going. So him and Yasuna, with how they're set up, with who they are, they're the perfect duo in some ways, in my opinion, to be mentor figures to this new cast of characters. If I have to go full balls to the wall predictions, let's be bold. Adolin actually, I think, will die in the second leg at some point, and Yasuna will be a series level survivor, and I think she will actually be the most focused on previous character from the first leg within the second leg, in terms of basically kind of assuming a Dalinar-esque role as she comes to the level of power she will then grow to in the second leg. So I'm even going character arc projections here. I think Yasuna is going to go on a Dalinar-esque projection, where I'm not saying she's going to be like this monster Dalinar was, but someone who takes power as they get older and becomes a massively respected figure. But this then brings in Shalon. I don't know. I don't know if Shalon will live or die. I've kind of avoided spoilers and not seen everything Sanderson has said, so if there's been hints or nuggets I've missed along the ways pointing to whichever direction these characters are going to go in, I apologize. This is coming from someone who has just read Rhythm of War once and summarized the other books, but Shalon, I see a really amazing path for her character if she does continue on to the second 5 books, where she can kind of continue to ascend in these new levels of power and be someone who really begins to understand the inner workings of this universe. Or I could see her going out in also a blaze of glory. Pattern could not comprehend the truth. The motionless Shalon sprawled before him. The screams of Adolin, nearly consumed by anguish, still fighting after witnessing Shalon's passing. "No dying," Pattern murmured, the final words coming as a fog began to consume his mind. But I guess I'm leaning like 60-40, 60 she does continue on in the second half of the Stormlight Archive. But someone I'd be willing to put a tremendous amount of money on not making it is Dalinar. I think everyone can agree on that. He's just being set up to be killed within this first leg. If you look at the narrative beats, it would be quite the subversion I personally would not see coming if he somehow lived through all of this. Adolin Navani knelt over the broken Dalinar, the titan of the battlefield, unable to move. "It's okay," Navani whispered, hoping Dalinar could still hear. "We've won. I can take things from here." Adolin shook, unable to voice any more grief, silent tears falling onto his father's face. And with Navani's amazing fleshing out of character in Rhythm of War, Sanderson is so good at just choosing a character for a book and being like, you're gonna love them by the end of this. And you're like, I don't really care about that character. Then by the end of the book, you're like, I love that character, I would die for them. Navani and Dalinar, I believe Dalinar is a guaranteed death. Navani will continue on after him and be someone who takes a lot of the unification Dalinar was able to build in these books and be the leader to kind of, on the grander political scale, keep everything in line where it needs to be so that whatever is next to come can be addressed and faced. Shalon, Yasuna, and Adolin, they're the people who can kind of on the individual level steer things where they need to go, but they aren't the ones who I think would be sitting in the courtrooms all day directing, nations on how they need to forge alliances stronger, stuff along those lines. That is where Navani fits in for me. Dalinar, he's not necessarily going to go out in like a massive blaze of glory. I see him having a very personal, intense confrontation with Taravangian, actually, and that being the conclusion. In my spine, there's a shiver that tells me somehow Zeph is actually going to make it. I can't justify it beyond just, I think he'll live, and I think he'll play a pretty important role in the second part. Or, for some reason, I think he could also be propelled out of this world and go into another Cosmere story. There's just a voice whispering that to me. I don't know if it's true or not. Now, Venli's gonna live. Pretty sure on that. She's our connection to the Parshendi that's most firm to me, and we need that to continue on in the second leg of the journey. There's gonna be quite, if the Parshendi are gonna continue to play a large role, which I believe they are, there's gonna be quite the undertaking to make us connect with them a lot more, because I did like Rhythm of War, but I think one of its bigger shortcomings was I just didn't end up caring about the Parshendi as much as the book wanted me to, and that's going to be the responsibility of the series continuing on, maybe this next book, maybe the second leg, to do so. And I like Venli. I don't have enough emotional investment there, though, to really have strong opinions on where we're gonna go next in her story, but I do believe Liv. Syl, I already said, is going to witness Caledon's death and wander, and whether or not she'll reappear in the second half, I really hope she does somehow in some capacity, but I'm going to cry. Moash. I would have put money down. Him and Caledon would have had a final showdown in Rhythm of War. I'm glad they didn't. I think Caledon needed that whole book to not have something like that, and then we could see it happen in the next. Moash, I believe, will die in the next book at Caledon's hands. But those are just my predictions for the final book in the first half of the Stormlight Archive. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and hit the Patreon if you'd like to support what I do here. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier Patreons, Crushing Sounds and Dr. Pepperoni Mountain.